Hello, welcome to the PCM podcast. Today's topic is abortion, and today I'm joined here by Alcius the Undefeated, who is going to be representing Oath Left.
Yeah, hello. So I'm Alcaeus. I'm an outleft, so basically a commie. And that's all. That's me.
We have Proxy General representing Oathright once again.
Hello.
Welcome back. Representing Libright, we have Liquid Narrator.
I have no idea why I keep coming back, but here I am again.
And representing Lib Left, we have a female today. Hello, Oti.
Hi. Hi, I'm Odie.
Right, so what are you guys' opinions on Roe v. Wade? Let's start with that.
You start then.
Well, okay.
I didn't understand what you said.
Discuss your opinions on Roe v.
Homosexual.
Wade.
Yeah, okay.
Hmm?
So, personally, I am pro-abortion, and I mean, I'm gonna be that meme right now with like compromise. But yeah, I actually dislike repealing Roe v. Wade because it's fucking stupid to ban abortion or even give it to the states because you can't trust states. But I'm also not a full left in my opinion on that, in the terms that you can like abort baby after like 5 or 6 months, like late term abortions. If the baby has reached the point where it can't survive, I think it should survive. It should be considered the life after that point.
That seems fair. I'll go then. I don't real. I guess if you made me like put a gun to my head that you're either pro-choice or pro-life, I'd say probably pro-life then. But in general, it's not a topic I'm hugely invested in. However, I do have feelings on Roe v. Wade that being it should be repealed because I'm more for individual states' rights, but as well just down to the fact that Roe v. Wade was built on a lie. 'Cause the whole case was about a woman being raped and she went privacy. However, the rape wasn't true. She's admitted since that she wasn't raped, that she just lied about it so she could get an abortion. So I think if you're if the pro-abortion side want to make an argument for it, they should be doing it based on actual truths. So if you have to lie to get your side through, I think that's pretty unfair, just moronic in general. But
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
yeah, that's not a good look. So I think seeing it has been proven that it was simply just not true. All it has done is hurt the pro-abortion argument. I mean, what's her name? Ruth Bader Ginsburg has even said that Roe v. Wade didn't help them one bit. In fact, it made things harder because people can just point to the fact that it was a lie. I mean, the woman who then lied about it, and then later in life became a devout Christian and is now anti-abortion. So it has really not helped their arguments whatsoever. So I'm completely for it being repealed. My opinions on abortion itself being irrelevant on that. It is as simple as this specific thing should be repealed, in my opinion, for states' rights, and just it doesn't help their argument. And let's go next.
Proxy, you can go.
Well, I believe that abortion. Personally, I believe I'm a pro-choicer. I believe that abortion at any point is basically either directly taking the life of the baby or at least preventing it from being born. So I believe that at the very least there should be at least a ban from a specific time of the fetus being developed, like from the 4th week and up, or even abortion in general, even before that.
I mean, would you be able to detect that 4 weeks and go through the whole paperwork, do an abortion? I think like putting it to 4 weeks would be basically banning it, but I'm not sure about it.
Yeah, like I remember doing the research on this on the fetal, I believe it's called. Yeah, the fetal development. And if I remember correctly, a baby has like a brain activity, heart rate, and a development of its own separate DNA from the mother, all in like the third or fourth week from being developed inside the womb. So I believe that taking its life from fourth week and up is basically like taking a human life, regardless of how small or different it is from us.
Yeah, sure. It almost seems like a like it's just a douchebag move in a way that you could just say, "Oh, well, abortion is legal. Just after 1 week, it's illegal."
Yeah.
What
Yes,
that's
Well,
almost kind of funny, just being and just how
I
much
mean,
it's
it started being detectable around 3 or 4 weeks, if I remember correctly. And for the organs, the brain, the neural system, it's around 8 to 12 weeks. To 12 weeks, so 3 months, it's pretty much alive. It has already a brain, consciousness, bones, pretty much all is organ functioning. So my stance on abortion, I would say I'm not against, but anything after the 3rd month is no. No matter the condition, it's no. But before that, yes, kind of. I mean, if it's from a rape, incest, or if it's a threat to the mother's life, I'm not against.
I think
So
even
yeah,
under the normal law, those are like exceptions. You can have abortions for those things regardless of
yeah, a threat
the
for
time.
the life of the mother, yes.
well, personally, I believe that those are very rare cases. Like, if I remember
Oh yes,
correctly, like 1 to 3% of the rape of the, excuse me, like 3 or 5% of the abortion rates, at least the causes of it. Like, whenever a woman goes for an abortion, at least for research purposes, there is like there are like questions for what the abortion was. Like the majority of the time, it was for the interest of the mother or the couple. Like
Mm,
say the mother has a job she wants to keep, a career to pursue, or just she doesn't want to waste money on a baby. At least those are
but
the main causes.
before continuing, maybe lib left your stance on abortion.
I am pro-choice.
No
Um,
surprise.
yeah, I believe abortion should be allowed, but anywhere past 5, 6 months should not, because at that point, yes, it could live um, without its mother, and that, yes, I believe that abortion should stay in America because of the money, having to take care of a child. um, I I see most people that do get them. It's about not being able to care for the child and giving it the quality of life, specifically finances. So I do believe that if that child cannot have the proper quality of life, then it's completely understandable to me.
I'd actually like to say something about the money thing. Was I think quite a lot of people who say that, like, it's just because they don't want to get so like I remember seeing a meme about this where it was someone it was comparing about how the fact that there are people who say like, oh yeah, I can't afford having kids, but then like if you take away the Netflix subscription or so whatever, like these luxuries you have, you actually can afford it. It's just people don't want to give that up for having a kid,
I
which
mean, it depends on the case.
of course it depends on the
From
case. But
the most poor people, no.
yeah, of course, I'm not saying that's every example, but I'm saying that quite a lot of examples that is probably what it would be. Is like say lower middle class, but no, I'm not saying like right when you get to like you're ridiculously poor or anything. I'm not saying that's every case. That would be fucking stupid to say. And that won't be the fucking stupid thing I say in this episode. But I think there are just some. I'm not gonna say they're narcissistic, but people just don't want to give up luxuries like that. So that for the sacrifice of having a kid, and I think if you do give up stuff like that, you could afford it as well. Then there is also options like adoption.
Yeah, that's I pretty much agree on it. Like, let's say that in the in the rare percentage of the abortion cases, like you aren't able to afford raising a child, just give it to someone else who is capable of doing so, someone you can trust. Not necessarily an orphanage. You could also give it to a monastery or another couple that you trust of raising it. If you can't afford it yourself, just give it to someone else who can.
Well, the quality of life is most definitely going to be worse than if it was raised by parents who actually want the baby, regardless, because we've heard times and times again like horror stories from orphanages or even churches. I mean, there are whole scandals about like pedophilia in churches and all of that. So I don't think like that's the best option. Also, Liquid was talking before about luxuries and all of that. And I actually wonder, like, what do you consider luxuries? Because raising a child is really fucking expensive, and I don't think that even cutting back on luxuries would give most poor or lower middle class families enough money to raise a child.
What were you asking? Sorry, one second. I was just doing something.
Yeah, you were talking about cutting down on luxuries in order to be able to pay for a baby. What I'm saying is, what do you consider to be luxuries? And that even if most like lower class or middle class families cut out luxuries, they would most likely not have enough money to raise a baby because raising babies is like really expensive.
Yeah, trying to think of examples of some things like entertainment, for example. Like think about how much people spend every year on something like Netflix, for example. Like, there's so many streaming services now that like a lot of money we spent on stuff like that. You cut that out, there you go. That's already some money you can spend over things. But then I'm not specific. I'm talking more middle class than lower class. But then you have especially younger people who like go out and do stuff like that. Where yeah, again you could cut that out. And in general, I would say that's my main issue with people who get an abortion. That was just the point I was wanting to make because I think my issue with people who get abortion more or less is the ones who just want to have tons and tons of unprotected sex and just not have any consequences. That's where my issues do start to come out with that kind of thing. As I said, I'm nowhere near as what's the word? Fuck, I'm trying to think of what the word is. Invested in this as some people. But yeah, I think the only time I genuinely really do dislike pro-abortion people are the ones who just they're fucking whores and they just want to. I love how this is going to become the second episode again where we just talk about sexual degeneracy, but yeah, there's just people who just want to have tons and tons of unprotected sex and they just don't want any the consequences of it when just wear a condom or don't have sex all the time, but instead they I believe it's their right to just because they get pregnant doing that, they believe it's then just their right. Oh, I'm just going to get tons and tons of abortions, and that's not a problem. And then there's
Yeah, I mean, I also don't support that behavior, but there are accidents. Like the condom can break, the pill might not work.
don't have tons of sex then.
Well, why not? Why not?
Because
It's
it has
fun.
consequences.
The
Yeah.
preference trying not to have sex for like 5 seconds.
Solutions have
And
been
also,
created to limit those consequences, and I don't see why we should just ban the solutions. I mean, I guess
something
that's my
Archie
point.
said, and I wanted to go back to that. It's the 5 to 6 months because I mean it's late. 5 to 6 months. It's it's already at least for me, it's already a human life. So why that late?
Well, I
Wati?
said like, yeah.
Hello?
OT.
Oh, did you have a question?
Yes, because you said 5 to 6 months for an abortion, but I mean it's pretty late, so I don't know why this late. I mean it's pretty much a human life with all the functioning organ since at least 3 months.
Yeah, I can see that. But I guess that's just more from my own personal experience that has affected me to view that. Because like my aunt, when she was young, she was an alcoholic and still is, and during that time she got pregnant, she didn't find out she was pregnant until about 4 months. And then she didn't have her abortion until she was almost 5 months. And during that whole time, her child was already messed up. Um, and so it wouldn't have a good quality of life because she was not ready to change. She still is an alcoholic 20 years later. Um, and that even I just got out of a drug and alcohol rehab. There was many women there that I knew that had abortions later because of their addiction, that either they did not know that they were pregnant and so they kept using, and then they were also homeless or didn't have jobs, so then they couldn't support having a child when they did find out like 4 months along. So that's just main reason that I would see it so late. Yeah.
Okay, I can see that. I mean, I'm still against, we could say, because well, it depends. Because if it's just the mother who can't afford it, I mean, we talked about it, orphanage, all that. Other people could take care about it, and for if the child is, I mean, pretty deformed or things like that because of smokes or drugs, yeah, that could be debatable because yeah, I mean, if the child suffer his whole life because of it, could be an argument, but yeah, that's a complicated topic.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a whole other topic in and of itself. Like, should you have the right to, like, abort a baby if it has some defects? So, for example, there are some arguments that say, like, if somebody has autism, since it is detectable before the baby is born, if the mother should have the right to perform an abortion or not.
Okay. Just gonna
So, yeah, what are your opinions on that?
as someone who does have autism, yeah, no, just Jesus Christ, that
Yeah,
is
for autism, no. Even though I
fucking
think in my
hell.
country it's legal. In my country, I think it's 3 months for an abortion. But if it's, I think it's autism, you can go up to maybe 5 to 6 months.
I think it's something like genuinely like really concerning. There's an argument for it, but like, yeah, no, fucking hell, autism's not
Yeah,
like
that's too far
that,
even for me. Even for me.
that's pretty. I describe it as pretty monstrous, honestly.
I mean, something
I,
is
I
kind
would
of
argue it goes like. Sorry, continue.
something is pretty concerning when even the authority believes it's too far.
Yeah, that's horrific. Jesus Christ. Yeah, that maybe if it's something like, yeah, that's like genuinely like you're just gonna live in pain for the rest of your life if you have that. So like I think of there was this video I saw. It was this woman who had a I I I don't know what it was. Made her face look all fucked up and shit. And she was like, "Oh yeah, people were telling me I shouldn't have a kid because because you're just gonna make it really like its life is gonna be really painful. And she had it, and the kid looked even more fucked up than she did. And like, yeah, then there's an argument there for getting one because that kid's just gonna live in pain for the rest of its existence. But like, yeah,
And
no,
that's pretty much an exception. I mean,
yeah,
those cases where the suffer or the child will suffer all his life from a disease or a malformation. I mean, that's maybe 1%
oh yeah,
of the case.
it was not a common thing what she had. Well, autism itself is more common, but it's still like, yeah, honestly have to be kind of a fucking monster to abort a kid just because it has autism. Because, well, I've been around long enough to say, we're with it to say, yeah, it's not like your life is just over because you have it. But yeah, it's not a good look. That's what I'll say.
Yeah.
That's really not a good look. And I think if you're going to try using an example like that, autism's like the worst one you could do. That's just, yeah, there's nothing else I've got to say to that. Just like, that's fucking monstrous. Like, Jesus.
Yeah.
I can't believe people actually think that, but
That face when you make an atheist say Jesus.
yeah,
I've also heard some arguments that are talking about how that like even borders on eugenics on some sense, because like
that does, yeah. Yeah, that kind of
yeah,
does.
if you're born people with mental defects or physical defects, yeah.
I mean, I live in a country that was doing borderline eugenics last year, so I can't say much, but
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
that's the thing is though, like quite a lot of these examples of abortion needs to be illegal because of this or that. It's the thing is they're not common. Like abortion because of rape are a minuscule percentage of all overall abortions. Same thing
I
with
mean, we need more a better sex education system.
oh yes, honestly, the parents should probably just be teaching their kids, not the
Yeah,
schools.
but America is
I
also
disagree.
kind of banning that with the, I guess, anti-grooming bill. Which, I mean, okay, I get it that it bans like what is it, critical race theory or whatever, or talking to kids about like gay people and all of that. Which I do think that the kids should learn, but I mean, yeah, letting the teacher do whatever they want and all of that, I disagree with that.
Yeah, well, if
But
you're
yeah, there's also like that social taboo that I guess Republicans in the United States have against talking about sex, which leads to more problems, and then they pass even more laws to punish the people that were not properly educated due to their laws. It kind of creates a vicious cycle.
yeah, have you seen many of the video or like read any articles about some of the stuff of well, teachers kind of just grooming kids? Because there's been examples where like a teacher will will be like trying to like tell a kid that like, oh, you're actually transgender, uh, and yeah, it gets like really concerning when you've got like one teacher who has like 15 kids in their class. And they're telling like the parents like they're telling the kids like, oh, don't tell your parents about what I'm teaching you and all that. That's when it's getting like pretty concerning.
Yeah, I've read
So
articles
Yeah,
about
I
that.
agree, but
Like
So I do
Professor.
get why they're doing it, but I do see what you're saying about the that they should probably be teaching like
yeah,
yeah I
maybe
completely agree with
regulate
that.
a bit more,
Yeah, they
have
should
a stricter program, but yeah.
yeah they should 100% be like parent like the parents shouldn't be like so hesitant to actually teaching their kids stuff because you're right, it's a vicious cycle with how it's done. So yeah,
And teach us so that those kind of things can have, I mean, pretty hard consequences.
yeah, it's not a good system how they've done it, but like what they've got, what they're doing, but yeah,
But we
I
are getting a bit out of subject with this, but I think it's also
yeah,
important to talk about that. Things to
yeah,
prevent, or not to say that, have less cases of abortion. If people need less abortion,
yeah. That would be the ideal. It's just that people don't need them, but
I mean, there will always be cases and exceptions, but I think a priority will be to lower it.
yeah, I'd agree with that. That they should be. They just left.
Oh,
What just happened?
Nothing, I'm back, I'm back.
All right, cool. I was confused for a sec.
I clicked the disconnect button by mistake.
it happens.
Yeah, that does.
So, Howard, something to say? Maybe.
That yeah, I believe there should be, good quality sex education for children, more around middle school, when they're starting to get into that age. Because personally, most of my sex education classes where I lived were in elementary school. And because of that, a lot of kids were pulled out because, their parents felt like it was too young. So I don't know. I find that interesting, but yeah, having children, like preteens, thought more about education and then continuing that into high school, even into health classes, would be beneficial. Because again, most kids that I knew only took one class their whole 12 years of school, for like only a month or two. So probably be very helpful to have more of that education, and probably even more classes in high school about, you know, Planned Parenthood, um, teaching children more about birth control methods. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, my school was never
That,
very.
I mean,
that's also an interesting topic because sex education, I guess it's done different in every country. And since
Yeah.
we do have like a diverse range of hosts, how was sex education like in your countries?
I got taught in primary school, and like at one point, and then another point in different years. Admittedly, I didn't pay attention very much during it. In fact, I only learned a few years ago that women had like a separate hole from peeing from their vagina. Like that's how little I paid attention in it. So I wouldn't call it the sex education in the world. That was kind of on me more than the education itself. Because like the moment I heard that women bleed out their bits, I was just like, nope, I'm not listening to this. So I wouldn't say it was particularly amazing, though it was on me.
Yeah, I mean, here in Greece, it was part of our like regular curriculum. I think it was sixth grade where we learned some things. It was like part of our biology homework, or yeah,
like
something like that. Don't remember exactly.
middle school, I think.
Yeah, and it then continues on. Yeah, with middle school, you learn some more, and then in high school you learn like some more, I guess. So you are gradually learning it over the years. It's not like one specific class that is okay. Yeah, here's how a baby is made or whatever.
Mm.
It's little like tidbits here and there. And I think they did show us even some videos, but don't remember exactly what they were about. It wasn't like porn or whatever. They're arguing that they're showing to middle schoolers in America. It was like kind of animated or whatever.
I mean, that's kind of the case, at least in our country, because yes, sexual education kind of always existed as a part of the curriculum, but not as a separate lesson, as in sitting down with the kids and telling them about it as part of the lesson. It was part of biology, as it is taught. Like, as I believe in the last chapter of the book, like at the end of the
Yeah,
school year, you'd speak out about it with the kids. Now, if I remember correctly, it was 2020 or 2021 when it was finalized as a separate lesson, like a year or two ago, basically. By
really, I actually
Yeah.
have not heard about that.
Yeah, Mitsotakis basically did it. Our current prime minister, to anyone who doesn't know. But uh, anyway, so yeah, we kind of finalized it as a separate lesson 1 or 2 years ago, and that's basically.
Yeah.
I went as far as myself as looking up the curriculum because I was curious about it. Like it was on the news that Mitsotakis basically uh, officialized it as a separate lesson as an answer to some recent rape incidents in the country,
Mm.
and not rape rates exactly, like uh, not
Greece went through
I
like
mean,
a version of Me Too in the past couple of years. I
yeah,
think that's
basically
what
that
Brock's talking about.
there wasn't a rise in the crime, just a rise in the of it being
A
referenced in
bunch
the
of
media.
celebrities,
Yeah, basically the
yeah,
media. And I mean,
turning out
Okay.
to
if
be
I remember
rapist.
correctly, like half of the cases weren't even actual rapes. I remember reading about one of them basically admitting that it was a lie and that
Yeah, uh,
she basically
I read
herself.
a lot about sexual harassment. The rape case were little like I think Philippidis and the kid diddler, the theater guy. What was his
Yeah,
name?
he's basically one of the few who actually did it. I'm referencing like one case with a woman, the shipping lessons. Like she reportedly said that her professor in the lessons basically assaulted her by basically bringing her into his bedroom and giving her drinks. But she basically admitted a few weeks later that she herself went into his bedroom by herself. She wasn't even drunk. So
Yeah.
anyway, regardless of that, there was a wave of Me Too hype in the Greek media. So as an answer to that, our prime minister basically finalized sexual education as a separate lesson, and as part of the curriculum, uh, let's say it doesn't have the best of things in it. If I remember correctly, it is to be taught from like elementary school up to high school. And even in elementary lessons, it has stuff in it like masturbation, homosexuality, transgenders, and stuff like that in elementary school.
Yeah.
Well, I
So
mean, those are important things to like know that exist. But
At 10 years
yeah, I mean,
old,
I have not looked at the curriculum, so I cannot judge right now. I cannot give like a complete opinion on it.
I mean, I'm not against knowing these things exist, but when you're mature enough to understand them, you can't basically approach 10-year-olds and basically telling them, well, you can be gay. I believe they're not mature enough to understand it, at least at elementary. From middle school and up, maybe, but
Well,
they're too young at
yeah, I
elementary.
also agree.
You
I
can't
also agree on
basically
that. It should be taught from middle school.
you can't
I
basically
also agree.
approach
Damn it.
7 or 10 years olds. Like if I remember correctly, the curriculum was like from 7-year-olds and up, I think. 7 or 8 years old. So that's basically too young for me. I believe that they're not mature enough to understand such topics about sexuality, sexual contact, and masturbation. I mean,
Okay.
they themselves can't even do it at that age. Puberty hasn't even kicked in yet.
trying to think what ages we were taught. I want to say the time we got taught about it was primary. It was primary four, so that would have been probably about 8 or 9. But that was just like that wasn't like, oh, here's how you jerk off. That was more like, oh, girls have these kinds of genitals, boys have these ones. That's the
Yeah,
difference.
biology.
Yeah, basically. And then it would have been primary 6 or 7, so that would have been, fuck, my maths is bad. That would have been about 10, 11, 12 or so. That's when you start to get like oh, this is how sex works and all that.
Hmm.
The one I do remember was it was in primary 7. Someone, probably one of the fat kids, honestly, was like asking like, "Oh, how does gay sex work?" I don't know if they were doing it just to try see. I don't know why they'd asked about that, and the teacher just wasn't allowed to tell them, and they got really pissy about it. But yeah, that
Okay.
would have been 12 or 13. Like you were getting taught that. I know some classes in my high school got taught it. I never got sex ed in high school.
So,
So
well, in my country, I will not talk about the biology because I mean that doesn't count really. But apart from that, we didn't really had sex education, or at least I don't remember it until maybe when we were, let's say, at least 12. So we all knew about sex, but yeah, from pornography.
so a similar age to Scotland then.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit late, I think, because if you wait too much, the kids will learn, but from
Yeah, they'll
bad
find it through
sources.
the internet.
Yeah, through the internet.
But I think
So
but that goes to what I was saying last week. Kids shouldn't be on the internet, so they shouldn't be able to know about this stuff in the first place because they shouldn't be on the internet.
Yeah, I kind of
I
agree
that's
mean,
with that.
kids will
complicated
be on the internet
to.
regardless. Talk, Alcius.
I mean, how can you control really that? That's a bit complicated to a complicated thing to control.
No, you
You
just
can have a parental
iPad
control,
or
but
don't give your kid an iPad. Yeah, because that's the thing. Is there's so many parents who just if a parent is just give the kid an iPad, just leave them do whatever they want with it.
yeah, you should watch what your kid watch and all that. But I mean, until 10, if you don't pass by a phone, a computer, a tablet, anything that has a screen, maybe. But
I mean, personally,
that's
I
complicated.
didn't have. Yeah, personally, I didn't have a PC up until I was, I think, about 12 years old.
Days.
But well, I mean, I end up finding a bunch of degenerate shit anyways. Like within the first months of owning that PC and having access to it,
And
because
days.
kids are naturally just gonna look at it, look at stuff, and it's that curiosity that children have to look at everything and find all the restricted information and whatever you're not allowed to do.
Yeah, but I mean, how old are you?
Well, right now I'm 20.
Yeah, I mean, so when you were a child, it's a long time ago. I mean, the kids who are growing right now, it's pretty hard for them to not meet any type of screen connected to the internet. I mean, the
Yeah,
internet
but
is everywhere now. So
And that's
why
why
I
we
say
should
it's
have sex
complicated to
education.
control.
Yeah, and that's why we should have sex education at younger ages, because kids are gonna come across explicit material on the internet regardless. So I
Yeah.
guess it's better to be prepared for what they see.
I mean, it depends on the age, to be honest. But I think we've gone a bit too far from the original topic. The topic was abortion.
Yeah.
Like we've done
But
that.
I mean, we can do the last quadrant with lib left about sex ed.
Yeah, so my sex ed was in 5th grade here in the US. And the school systems are different by each state and then even county as it goes broken up. And with that, it was like 4 and 5th grade. 4 days for an hour. They split up boys and the girls, and they taught us about the parts of each gender. And then, we saw a video of how this stuff works, and a lot of the time was actually just children asking questions. And then there was a time, since I was with the girls, where they did talk about menstruation, and that I felt like even got inappropriate because a teacher said, um, like tampons take away your virginity, and so that scared children. And then, yeah, it wasn't that much, you know, and then even going into it was 6th grade then, so a year later, that we spent maybe about 2-3 days in health class just learning about the parts. And when talking about preventing pregnancy, um, abortion never came up and miscarriages never came up as a thing, and that the teacher did not mention women's birth control. They only suggested condoms, and then but they were like, you shouldn't even use these, you should just abstain altogether until you're married, which I find
That's
an
kind of good
interesting
for
place.
that's kind of cool for a school professor to say. What grade did you say it was?
That was 6th grade. Um, but I don't know. I still feel like that should have been talked more a few years later into high school or something. And I'm 18. I finished high school 2 years ago, 2 years early. And hello?
Yeah, we hear you.
Yeah, I mean, like I believe that mindset of the teacher you mentioned should be exemplary in the school system because besides sex education, I believe there is one issue that is worse than children not knowing enough about sex. I believe that it's the mindset around it, not the thing about knowing it itself. Like most people in the modern age treat sex like a purely carnal thing, like something you do in the pastime and then do it again. It's it's an immature way to think about sex, if you ask me. That like you should be more you should be more mature about it and more responsible because you know that yes, if you're gonna do it, at least use a condom, but it's gonna break someday. It's not 100% safe. You can never be 100% safe about sex, and I believe that should save it for a more stable relationship. Think of it like a stand against hookup culture as it is today. I believe that it is an immoral and irresponsible way of life and viewing sexual contact.
Okay.
I mean, but why do you find it more like? Can you go into a more in-depth explanation on that?
I mean, That's not a,
outside like of religious beliefs, I guess.
that's basically it, to be honest. Like there is some personal ethics about it. Like in a more, if you save it for a more stable relationship, then you're gonna be more responsible about it. You're not just treating sex like something to do at random with someone you don't even know. Uh, if you save it from someone you can know and trust, that's basically less of a chance to not only avoid like accidental pregnancies and child cancel or can, how do you say it, like parent control? How do you say it, like you're basically the guardian of an accidental child or another couple?
I don't know.
Child support.
I
Yeah,
also
that.
don't know.
Okay.
Like if you save sex for a more stable relationship, not only are you avoiding like accidents, child support, and stuff like that, but also you're less likely to contact uh, STDs from a total stranger. Like you, if you know the person you're having sex with, you can trust him more on that. I believe the relationship will be more healthy and safer. And besides that, there are also the religious beliefs about premarital sex that I believe, just because of my religion, and I'll admit that basically.
Okay. I mean,
Right.
now we have pretty much all our thoughts on abortion.
I guess we still could talk about like solutions to this problem, because as we said, the optimal thing would be to like not limit abortions, but lower their numbers. Uh, yeah, what do you think would be some ways that we could like prevent unwanted pregnancy outside of like birth control and abstinence, or like
I mean, a part
whatever?
of those two, which are important. I mean, if you have sex, at least protect yourself. But yeah, sex ed and try to make people more responsible.
Yeah, I think like an issue
Yeah,
currently, the media like promoting the whole oh, just go fuck as many people as you want, and there's no consequences for that at all, which you do see promoted in quite a lot of media sites. When yeah, that's not a good idea. But there's so many people who think it is now because it's just being promoted nonstop.
I personally believe that besides those personal viewing points, if the government all right,
Okay.
uh, so apparently the lib left host left, so that makes us four at the moment. So yeah, personally, I believe that if the state outright bans abortion in general, unless the mother outright is in danger, I mean that's incredibly rare, but it happens sometimes that maybe there is some some birth defect or another circumstance, so the mother may die or at least be permanently damaged by the birth. So at that
Yeah.
circumstance, if the doctors are pretty sure that it will happen, most certainly, in that case, then abortion should be allowed, but only in that case. I believe that even in rape or incest, you can at least you can give the child to someone else. It can at least.
Incest, you can have some pretty bad health issues.
I know,
That's the
I know,
problem
but
with incest.
you could also just teach people not to pretty much fuck their cousins. That's the better solution for
And
me.
the problem is,
Instead,
yeah, you can try to prevent it, but it will eventually happen sometimes. It's like saying,
yeah,
yeah,
in,
people should stop making crimes. I mean,
if it happens, if it happens, I know there are there are health risks for the child, but those can be negated. You can pretty much give the child to another guardian if you don't trust the original parents. That should be an option before abortion. You don't have to pretty much kill a child just because it wasn't born the right way or in the right circumstances. And besides that, I also believe that if the government ban abortion in most, if all cases, then people would basically have to get more responsible. They'll have a how can I say this? They'll have a motive to be more responsible because
In,
if they fuck up, there won't be any solution. They'll have to basically raise a child. So they'll have to either be more responsible and avoid accidental pregnancies, or just be more responsible, or be more responsible with their child and children. That's basically it. You can already see that, to be honest. Like
that's
since they are
that's a beautiful way to see it. But I mean, in many countries where abortion is banned, there are still many abortions.
There is also the argument that if somebody's not responsible enough to put on a condom before having sex, they're definitely not going to be responsible to raise a baby.
But even without that, I mean, banning abortion will not stop abortion.
yeah, it won't stop
Yeah,
it,
of course.
but
There will be less cases, but
yeah, that's enough
more
for
chance
me.
for the mother to die.
That's
That's the
I mean
problem.
that's enough for me because more people are going to just refrain from causing accidental abortions, or at least be more responsible about it, or at least not make an abortion, just give birth to the child. That's basically more often the case than looking for a black market abortion. I mean,
Yeah, but
it
the
exists.
problem is for
It would
the mother who will die.
it would raise in it would how can I say it? It would have more consumers, but not that many. Most people would just not think of it as a solution to, because besides the ethic thing, it's also pretty hard to find someone to do it for you. It's incredibly
Also,
hard to find someone who can do an unofficial abortion on your child. So because it's that harder, less people will look for it. And just because the abortion itself is not guaranteed, like for example, the how is it called? The Roe v. Wade. The Roe v. Wade law that
overweight.
basically, yeah, that it basically guaranteed abortion for all U.S. states. The moment it got revoked, so you can no longer guarantee abortion in all states, more women will now be more responsible about their life choices. You can already see that in the media right now. Many of them are just still complaining about having to be more responsible and avoiding sexual contact, abstinence. I mean, most people already consider those as solutions, but they just don't want to do it. But they will have to, because the alternative to that is either an unsafe abortion or raising a child you don't want to. So people will have to be more responsible about that, or embrace the need and the responsibility to basically give birth and raise a child. I believe,
Also, the one thing we have not touched this much up until this point is okay, say we ban abortion, the mothers give birth to the babies. Now we have an influx of babies that either don't have a home to stay, so they will go to the orphanage, or they will just have to grow up with parents that actively like hate them. And I mean, is it worth to live like under like those awful circumstances, or
Well, I
is
mean,
it
if you
more like of a mercy killing in the term of abortion?
I mean, if it's wording more, it would potentially save the West because just how low our birth rates are. The kids being born for circumstances is not nice at all, but at the same time, well, the West does need more kids, and not just the West, like the East as well. Like everywhere except like the Stan countries and fucking Africa, like everywhere's birth rates are just completely down. So, like, I'm not gonna say, oh, it's a good thing it's gonna be done against born under bad circumstances, but it could be worse. Because we do kind of. It almost seems like it could be a necessary evil.
Yeah.
Uh,
So yeah, my things will be
I mean,
more
or we
to resume. It will be not banning abortion, but highly regulated.
I mean, in all
That's the way
honesty, now
to see it.
I believe that abortion should be banned in most, if not all cases, with the sole exception of basically endangering the health of the mother. And at a high predictability of that, like if the doctors are absolutely sure it will happen. Like already know people that were told that if they gave birth to the child, that either they will die or the child will have tremendous health effects, and they both lived and they had no health issues. Like there's this margin of error in science. The smaller that margin of error is, the more acceptable it is for the abortion.
Okay.